The Moonlit Rebellion. The night was alive with the murmurs of the rebellion. Fires flickered in the valleys beneath the silver glow of the moon, casting restless shadows over the gathered forces. The once fractured clans of elven warriors, rogue mages, and beastkin hunters had come together under a single banner, one of defiance against the looming darkness. The final battle was upon them. And at the heart of it all stood Maiya, the huntress of balance, her reforged bow humming with the power of both light and shadow. The whispers of the Lifesteal covenant and the revelations of the bow of eternal balance had all led to this moment. Malakar's forces had swelled beyond anything she had imagined, and his influence had seeped into the very core of the land. If he was not stopped now, the world would be consumed by chaos and corruption. It was time to strike. The gathering storm. Maiya stood atop a rocky ledge, surveying the assembled warriors below. Some bore the scars of past battles, their armor dented and worn, while others carried weapons infused with ancient magics. All of them had suffered under Malakar's rule, and all of them were ready to die fighting for their freedom. Beside her, Commander Valen, a grizzled elf warrior, adjusted his war cloak. "They're ready, Huntress. But they look to you for guidance." Maiya took a deep breath. The weight of leadership was heavier than any weapon she had ever carried. But she had no choice. She turned to the crowd, raising her voice so that all could hear. "We fight not just for vengeance, but for balance. The darkness that has taken root in our lands must be purged, but we do not seek destruction, we seek harmony. This night, under the light of the moon, we reclaim what was stolen from us." The roar of approval echoed through the valley. The rebellion was ready. The siege of Ebonhold. Their target was Ebonhold, Malakar's fortress, a towering citadel of obsidian stone and twisted spires. It pulsed with a dark aura, tendrils of energy stretching into the sky like grasping hands. It was here that Malakar had made his final stand, channeling his powers to breach the last barriers between the mortal realm and the void beyond. The battle began at midnight. Arrows rained down as the rebellion clashed with Malakar's shadow-forged warriors, twisted beings of smoke and steel. Maiya fought at the front, her bow singing as it loosed arrows of pure energy. Each shot found its mark, piercing the darkness and bringing light where there was none. Through the chaos, she saw Valen cutting down foes with twin blades, and beside him, Seraphine, a rogue mage, unleashed waves of fire to clear a path toward the fortress gates. But Malakar's forces were relentless. Even as they fell, they seemed to rise again, their essence returning to the fortress itself. It was as if Ebonhold itself was feeding off the battle, growing stronger with each passing moment. Maiya knew what had to be done. They could not simply win by force, they had to sever Malakar's power at its source. The heart of darkness. Breaking through the fortress gates, Maiya and a small group of warriors pressed forward, carving their way through the dark corridors of Ebonhold. The deeper they went, the more suffocating the air became. Whispers filled the halls, voices of the fallen echoing warnings and curses. At the core of the fortress, in the grand chamber of thrones, Malakar awaited. He stood upon a dais of black stone, clad in armor forged from the shadows themselves. His form was wreathed in dark energy, his eyes burning with the essence of the abyss. "You are persistent, Huntress," Malakar mused, his voice smooth yet dripping with malice. "But persistence is not victory." Maiya lifted her bow. "I've seen the truth of balance, Malakar. Your corruption ends tonight." He laughed, the sound resonating through the chamber. "Balance? Foolish girl. There is no balance, only power. And power belongs to those strong enough to take it." With a flick of his wrist, the darkness surged. Shadowy tendrils lashed out, forcing Maiya and her companions to evade. The battle against Malakar had begun. Battle of light and shadow. Maiya loosed arrow after arrow, each one charged with the combined essence of light and darkness, but Malakar countered each attack with his own overwhelming might. Every wound he suffered seemed to mend instantly, his form absorbing the very energy of the fortress itself. Seraphine conjured chains of flame, trying to bind him in place, but they shattered upon contact with his aura. Valen charged in, his blade striking true, but Malachar simply laughed as he repelled the attack with a blast of shadow energy, sending Valen crashing into a pillar. The fortress was feeding him. As long as Ebonhold stood, he was invincible. And then it hit Maiya. The answer wasn't to kill Malachar outright. It was to destroy his link to Ebonhold itself. She turned to her companions. We need to collapse the fortress. If we sever his power source, he'll be vulnerable. Seraphine nodded, immediately weaving a spell that sent cracks racing through the stone. Valen, wounded but determined, rallied the remaining warriors to strike at the pillar supporting the chamber. Malachar's smirk faded as he realized what was happening. No. You would destroy everything? Maiya drew one final arrow, aiming not at Malachar, but at the core of Ebonhold, the pulsating dark crystal embedded in the throne. With a whispered prayer, she loosed the shot. The fall of Ebonhold. The arrow struck true. A deafening explosion of energy erupted from the crystal, sending shockwaves throughout the fortress. The walls trembled, the ceiling cracked, and the very foundations of Ebonhold began to crumble. Malachar screamed as his form wavered, the darkness draining from his body as his connection to the abyss was severed. He staggered, eyes wide with disbelief, before collapsing to his knees. Maiya approached him cautiously. Without the fortress sustaining him, he was no longer the invincible overlord he once was. He looked up at her, hatred and something almost resembling regret flickering in his gaze. You think you've won?" he rasped. "The shadows never truly fade." With that, his form dissolved into nothingness, leaving only silence behind. The rebellion had won. As the fortress crumbled around them, Maiya and her allies fled, emerging into the cool night air as Ebonhold collapsed into ruins behind them. The war was over. But Maiya knew the battle for balance was never truly done. She tightened her grip on her bow and gazed up at the moonlit sky, ready for whatever came next.